once again, it's my pleasure to be able to share a message from this week's Parsha with you. When I was growing up, there was the opportunity that I had to wait for the bus in the morning to get to school. And I was always on time, but sometimes the bus was late. And on those days when it was late, I would begin to worry. When it was a minute late or 2 minutes late or 5 minutes late, I would begin to think to myself, maybe I had been forgotten. Maybe the bus had skipped my stop, and how might I get to school? Thankfully, I always had my parents that I could rely upon. But no matter, those moments of anxiety did build, and my concern over being forgotten was immense at times. So I can only imagine how Joseph must have felt at this moment in the Torah reading. It says, Vayihi Mikketz Shnatayim Yamim, that Joseph had been forgotten for 2 years. 2 years of days. He waited. Day after day, week after week, month after month, and of course, year after year to be remembered. He asked the cupbearer that when he got out to be remembered to the Pharaoh, but he had forgotten him until 2 years later. And so we imagine that maybe by that time Joseph had lost all hope. So Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen of Lublin teaches that it's not coincidental that this week's Parsha falls out amidst Hannukah. Hannukah is about hope. It's about never losing hope. It's about lighting a candle in the dark and dispelling that anxiety. This week's Parsha of Joseph being redeemed falls the same week in which the Jewish people are redeemed, in which the weak overcome the mighty, in which the strong are overtaken by the less strong. And so this week's Parsha teaches us a great lesson, and that is that we should be able to find a way to light a light even in the darkest times. To overcome the anxiety of being forgotten, all we have to do is light a light, and we realize that we're there, and maybe we're not by ourselves. And then the holiday of Hanukkah says, let's go one step further. Let's do that practice for 8 days. Let's every day, for over a week, light a light at the darkest times. And what we'll notice from the way we light candles is that each day the light will get a little brighter because we'll add to it. And we'll recognize that even in the darkest moments, we can find light. We'll get ourselves in the habit of saying to ourselves and to each other that we're not alone, and though we're anxious, we can see someone else. There's a story told of a blind man who was walking in the dark, and he was carrying a torch. And a passerby asked him, "Why are you carrying a torch? You can't see anyways, you're blind." To which the blind man responded, "Well, it's in order that other people might be able to see me." Hanukkah says, as long as we're not alone, we always have hope. Joseph was able to see in the darkness a cellmate, and from that gained a sense that he was alive, and he had something to offer, he had something to give. And as long as he had something to give, then there was reason for him to be, and there was purpose in his waiting. This week says to us on the holiday of Hanukkah, let's get in the habit of making sure we understand our value. Let's get in the habit of reassuring ourselves in the dark times, in the moments of anxiety, that we will prevail, and that we can always rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We can always rely on God to dispel that darkness while we make that effort as well. Have a wonderful week, and have a great Hanukkah.